Hello everyone and welcome along to live coverage of round 12 of the Inside Line Racing League season here on ILR1 in Xbox. Well, it's been a long wait. We've had 3 weeks of waiting. We've had Christmas, we've had New Year, all the celebrations to come with it, but it's now back down to business as we get ready for the Hungarian Grand Prix. As always, New Year, same lineup. It's Ginger Andy, joined by James. And James, I'll start by wishing you a very happy New Year.
A happy New Year to you, and a happy New Year to everyone racing today and viewing to this race tonight as well. It's good to be back. The Hungarian Grand Prix is a really good circuit. It's going back to plenty. Well, it's the Monaco without the barriers. A massive driver skill is involved around here, but we're only going to see massive driver skill, I believe, in the first 15 minutes or so. That will be in the final 2 minutes of qualifying. Most of these guys will not set a lap on those ultra soft tyres you see some of them out there on. Most of them will wait until the very end and set their fastest laps on the soft compound tyre.
Okay, so there you have it there, the ultra soft, the soft and the medium tyre, the 3 compounds. I must be honest with you, I'm not too brushed up on tyre compounds around this circuit, so just give us an idea then, James. I take it it's another one of those racetracks that we've experienced so often throughout the season then, where you have to qualify on the soft compound tyre to be competitive, because I presume the ultras just fall away and you're forced into a 2-stop if you use.
Yeah, exactly that. The ultra soft fall away so fast around here. 2-stop would be the ideal strategy if you did decide to go on the ultra softs. That's not to say we haven't seen it in the past this season. We have seen drivers do that alternate strategy. It's not necessarily worked for them, but in qualifying it has. So there may be ones to watch as this session progresses. There's plenty of new faces as well for this one, but yeah, it's a one-stop strategy if you go from softs to mediums, or vice versa, mediums to softs. New runners, as I say today, Bifa, the Hungarian, and we have Cyril Rosberg making his return. That's a big name to come back into the league. The TR Dutchman as well. Yeah, it's a fair few guys who are all coming back, all joining the league for the first time. Should be a good watch, this one.
Yeah, it should be a cracker. Good to see them all returning, especially Cyril Rosberg, a man who you have to say, when he left at a terrible time, because he was still in the hunt for the championship last year. Remember, we had 5 drivers competing for the World Championship last year. He pulled out. That made it just the 4, and quite incredible that he chose to pull out. He probably regrets pulling out at the time when he did. And it led to him not returning until now, the midway point of the season, the 2019. So maybe he's rewarded himself over the winter break of racing. Of course, not just this league, across all leagues usually in the community, everyone stopped racing, and maybe he's just felt it's time to return to action. So it's great to see him here. It's great to see Bifa, of course, in the Force India as well, the Hungarian driver making his debut and at his home circuit. So fantastic to see him doing that. That might be the first man since Zoltan Baumgartner, a Hungarian, to drive in Formula 1. Of course, this is virtual, not the real world, but I think Zoltan Baumgartner actually made his debut as well at the Hungarian circuit, possibly. I'm not sure 100% on that, but I think he might have back in 2004. I'll need to do my dusting up on that. So he's stepping into the footsteps of another Hungarian driver. But let's just have a quick look at the drivers' standings at the halfway stage, or just beyond the halfway stage in the season. And it is, unsurprisingly, Veloci Surprise, who has been so dominant, he's been so good, so strong throughout the season, that leads the way at the moment. He's got 228 points, an 83-point advantage over OMG's Joe in second. It's third for VSR Simon, he's on 138. Veloci Limitless, 12 points back at 126. Murso is fifth. Martin, having a wretched season, is P6th. It's Reynolds 7th, Holland 8th, Melanie 9th, and Jock in P10. But at the moment, James, Veloci Surprise until this point has been superb, in great form, hasn't he?
Yeah, great form, great to see as well. He's had his moments this year though, where he has been pipped to the post. We'll get there eventually, but he's not always had his own way this year. It's true, sometimes maybe that is a bit deceiving, the standings, because he's not truly been truly dominant, if you get what I mean. In terms of the races, it's never really been a standout. I mean, he's won races brilliantly on many occasions, but he's never, if you know what I mean, won a race by like 8 seconds, 9 seconds, 10 seconds. It's very rare that he's done that this year. So there's only been 3 drivers that have actually won a race. He's one of them, with Joe, and the other being VSR Simon. But I think I said earlier, and you may have seen the tweet that the account put out, I think there's 5 or 6 drivers in this league who could win a race this season. The other 3, I would probably dare to say, well, maybe now Rosberg, since he's back, Martin, could win a race, but it's just about how he can adapt with the wheel. And Limitless has been so close on so many occasions that actually it's just a moment. When will it happen? It's going to be surely this season he's going to get a race win.
Well, yeah, I was just looking for watching Limitless actually. The last 4 races he's been on the podium, 3 seconds and a 3rd place. So you have to feel it will come soon as Surprise is abandoning the current lap, as we expect. So many drivers out there just warming up on the medium tyre, presumably just waiting for the moment to go out later on in the session, as James mentioned earlier, on the soft compound. TR Dutchman has done a 16.0 and I presume that is a relatively competitive lap on the Electric, is it? I'm not too sure.
It's not a bad lap from Dutchman. I believe some are saying high 15s, I'd imagine, mid 15s. I'm not overly certain. I could be wrong. They could be well off the pace. I mean, I know that something, for example, of Rosberg's app at 120 is miles off what they should be doing. 18s, I think, are miles off. So I think,
that's a level.
yeah, exactly. So I'm not too sure, but I mean, let's see what the soft runners are like. That might just be a bit of a it may not be the sort of lap that we're looking for a 16.0. Who knows? We're going to have to wait for another 8 minutes or so.
Yeah, well, it is TR Dutchman's first race in this year as well. He was, of course, racing in ILR2, so we don't really know his exact pace, but whether he'll be able to better that time on softs, mediums, we do not know. We'll have to wait and see, but certainly the people below that lap time you would feel are just waiting for later on in the session. Even Snazzy at 16.8, we know he's very quick for 1 lap, so he would not be 8 tenths slower than someone like Dutchman, so you'd expect him later on in the session to be waiting for the moment. That's exactly what everyone's doing here, but Tyrrell Martin out there at the moment in mode 0 as we go on board with him in the Red Bull. Not had a great season, picked up in recent weeks though, it has to be said. What do you think he can do as the season goes on?
Yeah, I was actually saying about Martin, you're right, his form has improved, I think, massively, drastically over the last, well, not a few weeks, but the weeks prior to the Christmas break. He did look like he was on a bit of form, and maybe that Christmas break came a bit too soon for him. Maybe he wanted to wait a few races and get his form to continue, but he's going to have to try again now. As a fresh start, the second half of the season, not the season we've been expecting from Tyrrell Martin, or is it? Because, of course, the wheel is paying its dividends, I suppose, but he's one to watch. He's definitely a podium protagonist this year now. Coming towards the end of the season. Germany was a bit of a blip for him. I mean, qualifying was the real reason he didn't, I don't think, produce as well as he perhaps could have done. So it's ifs and buts really, but you'd like to think that Martin could get on the podium more regularly as this season progresses.
Yeah, got one just a couple of weeks ago, well 2 races ago I should say. He finished 5th last time out, or was it 5th first then the 3rd? I'm going to have a quick look back, but he certainly improved in recent races as TRL Martin. We'll wait and see what he can do. Can Joe get back to winning ways? Remember, he's won a couple of times this season and been a bit of a surprise package really, but in race pace at times he's struggled a little bit with tyre temperatures, hasn't he? Sometimes dropping away in the race. Limitless has spoken in many of his videos about having that Ferrari stuck in front of him, and yeah, Joe in recent weeks has struggled. He's not been on the podium since he won it back in Monaco, so that just shows you how much Joe has struggled in recent weeks despite his 2nd place in the standings. So we'll see how he gets on. What about the man who won last time we were racing at his home event in VSR, Simon? What about him? He's been another one that's been very quick, arguably, James, the quickest so far this season, particularly since the first couple of rounds concluded. He's looking very quick, and over 1 lap might be ahead of Lottie Surprise. Would that be a fair comment?
I would say, I mean, qualifying performance, I think, between those two in particular has been close to you. It's kind of balanced itself out because of race pace and quali pace. It's, you know, I think these two are just a lot closer together than what I think the gap in the championship would suggest. We've said it many a time to Simon in a post-race interview that if you'd have had the luck this race, and we've said it time and time again, if you had the luck this race, if you'd have had the luck, actually, I don't think there'd be many more than about 20 points in the championship gap. I mean, the early season form for Simon was so detrimental to the way that this season's gone that actually it's just affected him so badly that perhaps it may have just cost him the championship. But it's a long way to go yet. I don't want to put my finger on anything just yet because this is ILR and we know things can change around. So hopefully, for the sake of a neutral, it does.
Yeah, absolutely. Simon actually gave Surprise a full, 65-point head start he gave him at the start of this championship. That's how big a start he gave him. Simon picked up no points in the opening 3 races, and Lottie Surprise picked up 65. You can't give that away to someone like Lottie Surprise. in a championship battle, and that is what has cost him. Reynolds and Gorsh have gone out there on a set of ultra softs in the remaining 7 minutes. I wonder if they're going to go for any serious lap times. I know we've dismissed it, but Hungary, we've not spoke much about the circuit, Hungary, as Langman appears to have crashed out of the session up at turn 4 and 5. So that's the high-speed section of the track. I think on the exit of turn 4 he's lost the rear end and gone into the wall. So Langman starts 2019 quite literally with a bang, and he is out of the session. So Langman is out and is going to struggle in the race, because at Hungary, James, it's a track where, you know, overtaking is limited. It is literally Monaco without the barriers, isn't it? It's so tight, so twisty, and the only real overtaking opportunity is down that start-finish straight, isn't it? So how do you think some guys might approach this? Do you think the guys lower down the order might go, you know what, it might not be the best strategy, but it's difficult to overtake, why not go for the ultras?
Yeah, it's actually a good point to be fair that you make that. I mean, there are very, very few places to make an overtake around here, but in some ways I think it's more challenging than Monaco. Monaco is a little bit nicer, I'd say, on its tyres than Hungary, but yeah, Hungary with the tyre temperatures as well, because you have to follow in such fast corners, such long corners. Actually, the temperatures probably this is probably the worst track for that kind of tyre temperature. Dare I say, it might be one of the worst for some of these drivers. You see in real life Grand Prix, for example, how bad some of the racing really was around Hungary. It's diabolical in terms of they just can't follow each other. I mean, this game's a little bit more lenient on that front, but it's not to say that they're completely against it. Those carcass temperatures are still there, and following cars is going to be difficult around here. But yeah, there's only 2 places you can make a move here, maybe 3. Gorsh is coming up to one of them, I believe, now. The right hand, and after the... Yeah, after the... Yeah, here we are now at the point where I think you could potentially get a move done. But 1 and 2 is probably the best bet for most of these guys. I'd love to see a move made where I said it could have been done, but yeah, let's not hold our breath.
Yeah, well, as ILR1, there's obviously every opportunity it could happen, but we do finally have a runner out there on the soft compound tyre. Everyone is in the pits except Melanie with 5 minutes to go in the session, and this is where it's about to get crazy, isn't it? Here we go, Melanie on the softs on an outlap. And interestingly, Dutchman has come out of the pits on an outlap as well on ultra softs. So STR Dutchman in his ILR1 debut going for it. Is he going for it, James? It certainly looks like it.
Do you remember Bahrain? I think Bahrain was the race where we actually saw like a couple of guys go, you know what, screw it, let's go on the alternate strategy. Let's go on the softest compound tyre, the qualifying tyre, and let's go for it. And actually, you're seeing it maybe here now. I mean, Gorsh qualified, I think it was something like 4th or 5th in that race, dare I say, in Bahrain, and he didn't get amazing points ultimately because the strategy didn't work for him. But somewhere like here, I think it's just could be a better circuit to try it. It's not like there's a lot of places to overtake, like you say. You're kind of just holding a train, but that could lose you time at the end of the Grand Prix. So, ifs and buts, let's see what the Dutchman does. He'll definitely finish this lap. He's going to have to bet his bottom dollar that he can get out again if he wants to try the soft slap. I don't think he would be able to do that though with the time remaining.
I don't know if he's going to do it. We'll have to wait and see. But Melanie is the first man to start a flying lap. We've got Melanie out there. We've got Limitless, Martin, Joe, Simon. So a lot of the big runners are out quite early on. We'll follow Melanie first, as he is the first man out there. Then we'll go to Joe, then the 2 Red Bulls. That is going to be the order that we're going to go to these guys over the next few minutes. 3.5 minutes to go. Let's see just how much of a lap time Dutchman has done, whether it's representative or not, as we watch Melanie climb up the hill through turn 5. And as you mentioned, James, there are so many long corners on this racetrack. Turn 1, hairpin. Turn 2, really long. Turn 5, uphill right-hander. Long corner. The two corners at the end of the lap. Turns 13 and 14. Long corners that can really stress the front tyres. So as we watch Melanie head through that second sector and down towards turn 12. Tricky braking zone, that's very easy to run wide on the exit. There ain't much room in terms of runoff, you will ruin the lap. And now into those 2 long corners that we're talking about at the end of the lap. Melanie through the first of them, and now into this final corner. Watch him try and get as close to the inside as he can to try and shorten the run to the line. Melanie crosses the line, the first lap on the board. It's a 16.5 from Melanie. Dutchman has stayed out there, so let's go to him on the ultra softs. Is this a genuine effort from TR Dutchman, making his move up from ILR2? It's a 15.4, so he's just holding back, and now he's delivered that. Let's go to Joe now in the final part of the lap on a set of soft compound tyres with his first run of the session with 2 minutes and 15 to go, and he's backed out of it. So let's go to Tierno Martin and Limitless. Limitless, first of all, coming to the end of the second sector and down towards the braking zone of turn 12. Is this the weekend? The Red Bull driver shows his qualifying pace. To be fair to him, in recent races he has done that. The last couple of races he's been near the front of the order. What can Limitless do in this occasion as he rounds the final corner? Can he start the new year with a bang? Veloci Limitless for the line, not on this occasion, he's done a 19.4, so it's a slow lap from him. What about Martin James?
Yeah, he's coming up to the line now, does cross the line, goes into P2, slots ahead of Melanie, but still not as quick as Dutchman in the Renault at the moment. Dutchman doing a fine job, he could say, but he is on ultra soft tyres, and it does look like he's pushing on this lap. Maybe he's coming to the pits, and Snazzy Evening still in third. There's a massive gap between Martin and Dutchman. That just goes to show the difference in tyre compound. Simon has just begun a lap as well. There's others all out there, all now, I think, are just going for their final laps.
Lots of surprise, he's late to go for this lap. Simon actually abandoned that lap, as does Limitless, Simon started another one. I think he abandoned the last one, or corner cut the last one, because he had been on one prior to that. So only Martin, of really the front runners, got a representative time on the board. I'm now watching Veloci Surprise. He's on another one. Joe's actually just a little bit further up the road, so we'll go to OMG, it's Joe, second in the championship, heading for the line. He goes quicker than Martin, so that's a big move in the order for him. Here goes Veloci Surprise, the championship leader. Is he going to go back on top here in Hungary? He certainly goes ahead of his rivals. Veloci Surprise, a 1:15.6. Is Dutchman's time just a little too quick? Limitless now, a 1:15.8. He finds time. Martin's bailing out. His session is over. A 16.1 will be the best for him. Where is Simon? Has it been a troubled lap for Simon? Is he on a quick one? Here comes the McLaren. He goes quicker than Surprise. Not enough to double the Dutchman, but Simon is quicker than Veloci Surprise. It ain't pole, but you have to feel it's a virtual pole position with Dutchman on the ultra soft. Simon ahead of Surprise, then Limitless, then Joe, then Martin and Melanie. Is there anyone else out there on a quick lap at the moment, James?
I can't spot him on a lap. You want to watch the likes of Snazzy Even. He's also just coming through the middle sector, so he's definitely not one that you want to be watching. Rosberg as well, he's also in the middle sector. Reynolds, let's see where he is on circuit. He's just coming up to the line. He goes P10th. Yeah, P10. Not bad effort.
Yeah, let's see. Look at Ghosh then. He's on the ultra soft. Ghosh is on the ultra soft, so he can really mix it up here. Tell you what, the neutrals won't want him getting in the way of Simon Surprise and Limitless, because that could be a cracking battle. Is he going to split them? Is he going to be ahead of them all? Oh, he is going to be ahead of them all. He takes the pole position away from TR Dutchman. So Dutchman, on his debut, thought he had the pole. No, he doesn't. In comes Ghosh Crab, and he snatches the pole away. What a way to start the new year, albeit on the alternate strategy. With a snazzy evening, he's only going to be 9th. And it's a 16.4 from him. We wait on Hayden, we wait on Thomas. Thomas in the final corner, but it's Ghosh Crab who steals the pole from Dutchman as we watch Thomas round the final corner and up to the line. He goes 14th, and I think that is that, because Hayden's come into the pit. So Dutchman looked like he had the pole, but Ghosh snatched it away. What do you make of that, James?
It's brilliant to see, isn't it? The top two, as I said, they're all going to try the alternate strategy. Ghosh and Dutchman on the front row of the grid. I did say it's one to watch because Ghosh did try it in Bahrain. He's tried it again here in Hungary, and he's taken pole position in Hungary, which is, well, amazing, really. I mean, not many people would have thrown that one into the mix, but I just want to say a quick shout out to Simon, because that is a stunning lap. Absolutely stunning. It's been 1.5 tenths off the pace on tyres that are nowhere near as quick as those ultras, and it's quite evident. That's amazing. That is absolutely brilliant from Simon. But he starts from the second row. It's going to be really interesting then into the first corner, I think, with Ghosh and Dutchman. We don't know what Dutchman's like as a racer. We certainly know what Ghosh is like as a racer. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, well, I have to say, I mentioned it as he was coming up to the line, as you can see it now in front of you. I was hoping and praying that Ghosh, if he was going to do a lap on ultras, that it was ahead of Simon Surprise and Limitless. That was a must. And he has done that. So that means Simon, Surprise and Limitless are still together on the racetrack. Ghosh won't be holding them up. Dutchman will be holding them up. Dutchman will as well. But they're all going to be held up. Not just one of them, not just two of them. And that is the perfect setup for this race. We spoke about it before qualifying. It's difficult to overtake here. And there you have it. Ghosh and Dutchman on the ultra-soft tyre ahead of the rest. Ghosh takes pole, Dutchman second. As you mentioned, James, a great lap from Simon. He has first blood on Surprise at the start of 2019. Then it's Limitless, then Joe. Merceau 7th, Martin, you were disappointed with 8th, and Snazzy Evening was 9th. I have to say, I'm really excited with the way the grid has lined up for this race.
Yeah, absolutely right. I think everyone should be. If you're watching at home, it should be a fantastic race to see just how well the front two do on those ultra soft tyres and how well that everyone else on the softs can get through them. Can they cut through them as quickly as potentially we're thinking? I mean, it's a fair run down to turn 1. It's not a short run. There is a lot of time to get towards the first corner. And as soon as you hit turn 1, you hit another straight towards turn 2. So there's a lot of opportunities for these guys in the first couple of seconds of this race to really do something. But something I just picked up on, something I've just been told about, is well, from OMG, it's Joe, this is. Himself and Sierra Rosberg didn't have DRS on their laps. So if that is, yeah, I mean, if that's the case, then it's a bit appalling on the game's part, let's be real. But, you know, it's still a fine effort if they didn't have DRS to get to where they did. I'm not too sure where Rosberg lined up in the end, but Joe was behind Limitless, so not a bad effort from the Ferrari.
Yeah, well, we'll see what the Ferrari can do in the race then. That could be quite interesting. But as we spoke about, sometimes Joe has issues with tyre temps. He has seemed to have sorted it out a little bit in recent races, so we'll keep an eye on him, see how he gets on. But absolutely fantastic that both Ghosh and Dutchman made sure they were ahead of those guys, because that has really made things interesting as the formation lap gets underway. So let's just refresh. Let's have another rundown of the order. Let's have a little look at the tyre choices, because everyone outside the top 10 can have 3 tyre choice, so that will make things even more interesting. But it's Ghosh and Dutchman, a Force India and a Renault on the front row. Fantastic to see. It's really all about the start really for Simon Surprise and Limitless. Can they get ahead of these guys immediately? Can they not? I mean, they are 2 stages softer, the tyres, 2 stages harder, those tyres, so they won't have as much grip off the start line. So it's going to be difficult for them to get that move done down into turn 1 and turn 2. They might have to play the long game. They're going to have to watch each other. They don't want to be hung out to dry on the outside against Ghosh or Dutchman and allow their opponents through. Like cagey, it could be fireworks. I don't know how it's going to pan out, but it is going to be a fantastic start to ILR Xbox in 2019, that's for sure. Ghosh and Dutchman, the front row on the Ultras. Simon, Surprise, Limitless, the 3 main contenders, and Joe as well, of course. You can't discount him in behind with no DRS supposedly on his lap as well. Those 4 will all battling each other like crazy. Then Merceau in 7th, Martin 8th, Snazzy 9th, and Melanie rounding out the top 10. All of those guys from 3rd to 10th on the soft compound tyre. Then you've got EVR Reynolds. He's gone for the mediums. So there you go. Reynolds on mediums, Jock on mediums. Piefer in his home race has gone for the soft. Thomas on soft. Hazeman and Hayden on mediums. Rosberg and Langman on the softs. So I'm really looking forward to this one, James. Can you call a winner? I don't think you can.
No, I don't think you can. It could be as hectic as the 2006 Hungarian Grand Prix, where of course Jenson Button won that day with Pedro de la Rosa and Nick Heidfeld on the podium. Will we see a bigger shock as that here today? I wonder. But the Force India and Renault on the front row, this should be fireworks into the first corner. The launch isn't going to be with the hands of Simon, Surprise, Limitless, Joe, or in fact anyone behind these 2 on the front row. It's critical then, that start. Absolutely pivotal. These guys don't need a green light after the 5 lights. All they need is a quick set of reactions.
Well, here they are then, all the cars lining up on the grid. We've had to wait around 3 weeks for action. Last time out in Germany we had a cracker. I'm sure we're going to have yet another here again today. It is time for the Hungarian Grand Prix. The 5 red lights are coming on. 2019 and ILR Xbox is go! Lights out, away they go here in Hungary. Ghosh and Dutchman on the run down to turn 1. Are they going to maintain their lead? It looks like it. Ghosh and Dutchman side by side into the first corner. The 3 other rivals battling in behind. Looks like Joe has had a storming start up in the P3. Simon pushed wide, but as we thought, look at the 2 leaders leading their way down the hill into turn 2. Ghosh on the inside of Dutchman. They're touching wheels, and Ghosh holds the line, holds the place. Dutchman looked like he found a way through, but he doesn't as they race down the hill. well. It's Ghost, Dutchman, and a stunning getaway from OMG. It's Joe with surprising fourth. What a start that was, Dave.
Absolutely the best start of the season, Joe. I'm going to hang my head out there and say that was absolutely stunning off the line from the Ferrari. Veloce Surprise is still in P4 there. You can see he was squabbling away with the McLaren, and the Red Bulls had a shocking start once again. It's not something we've been, well, not used to seeing. We've seen it plenty of times this year. Limitless and Mine have not got away at all well. Snazzy Evening's got away well indeed ahead of him. Joe's gone wide though. He's going to allow Surprise. He's going to open the door for him potentially. The two Red Bulls as well. I think that's Martin going wide. One of the Saubers trying to dart down the inside of Reynolds, trying to get the move done. But a clean start, you've got to say. There's a couple of guys who maybe lost out at the start, but not as much as those two Red Bulls.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. The Red Bull pole. Well, Martin's actually stayed 8th, but Reynolds is down 2. Snazzy's up to 6th. From 9th position, but Joe with the start of the season, I have to agree with you. It's Ghost in the lead, Dutchman second, but Dutchman's under pressure. Here comes Joe down the inside. The Ferrari on the bridge. This could be key for the Grand Prix. He needs to get this move done, and on the exit of the corner, he finds the traction, finds the grip, and finds a way through into P2. Now, can he break away from his rivals and get on and go on and win this race? What a stunning start that is from the Ferrari, up 4 places in 1.25 laps, and he's leaving his rivals behind. What a move.
It's the sheer quality that man can possess on some occasions, and when you see it in abundance, you have to respect it. It's absolutely stunning start from Joe in the Ferrari. Veloce Surprise now though is going to be held up by TR Dutchman. The Renault is just going to sit there. Those ultra soft tyres are still going to be as fast as those soft tyres, if not faster. Gorsh is starting to pull away at the front on those ultra soft tyres. He's nearly a second clear of the Ferrari, but it's all a case of the concertina effect behind.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think Joe will mind that. I don't think he'll mind that as long as he can get away from Dutchman, but at the moment it's not happening. He has to get away before he allows Surprise to come steaming in and attack the Dutchman. The last thing you want is a championship leader in the form that Veloce Surprise is, getting ahead. Remember, Simon, who was ahead of Surprise, is in a terrible start. He's dropped down behind him. Andrew, I think actually Joe shoved Simon out wide at the start, but here comes Surprise. Down the inside, he has a look. Dutchman's late on the brakes. He's way out wide, and that's a gift. Christmas has come late on this occasion, and through goes Surprise. And I don't think Dutchman can do much about Simon either, because he's coming up the inside. He knows how important it is to get this move done, but Dutchman holds on for now, and that's frustrating for Simon, because we're going into a part of the lap where overtaking is difficult. Try telling Simon that though. He's going to try and go round the outside up the hill into turn 4, and he gets it done just before the braking zone. Oh, well,
Andy,
the lift off zone. You look at the breakthrough there, he's through.
It's raining at Hungary. It's actually starting to rain already. What if we couldn't have anything more to spice this race up? The rain has come. I saw a massive flash. I've looked on board, and there's rain streaming down this McLaren that I'm on board with of Simon. It's a fantastic move from McLaren as well.
Fantastic move from him, and a fantastic move from the two guys on the ultra softs to have made this decision. Ghost Crab, if they make a pit stop any time in the next lap or so, is going to find himself in a net lead of the race here, unbelievably. I know he is already, but the tyres must be shot, and Joe is pushing him round the corners. He's all over the back of that Force India, and surely it's a certainty that he's going to make the move into turn 1. It is a train of cars following that Force India, and Joe is going to pull alongside already before they even reach the braking zone. Down the inside he goes. Look at Surprise in the background. He's down the inside as well, and he makes the move on Ghost Crab, who's dropping like a stone. Joe takes the lead. Surprise follows him through, and Ghost Crab drops down the 3rd. Make that 4th as Simon's down the inside. They're side by side. Goes 4, sees Simon wide. Simon will have the inside now as they go down the hill through turn 3. Ghost now forced wide, and Simon makes it stick. Great racing between the pair, hard, on the limit, but fair, and Simon is through, and Ghosh has been swallowed up by the pack. That's 3 places gone in 3 corners, and this could be another one. Snazzy Evening now, homing in on the back of that Force India, and maybe even having a look down into the chicane. Wow.
We said overtaking wasn't possible. Oh, unbelievable. What were we on about? Clearly it is possible. These guys proving that here now, but you can see those ultra soft runners are starting to fall off the edge of the cliff now. 4th and 6th. Gorsh and Dutchman. So it's looking like it's a certainty for Snazzy Evening as he heads down the inside. Surely he's going to get the move done on the Mercedes. He can't quite do it into the towards that right hand. He's going to have to try again. Then maybe this left-hander. No, it's going to be too tight on the apex. But Gorsh keeps locking those wheels. Cannot get the run. Cannot get the traction. And now Limitless is looking for a move around the outside. Snazzy Evening's finding a gap as well. There's 2 by 2 as we head down the pit straight. But Limitless is holding in on the outside as well. He's got the move done on the Dutchman. And now we can see Snazzy Evening move into P4 as well. It's all kicking off as we head from about P4 down to about P8 there. Fantastic stuff.
Oh, Limitless got a little tap there from behind, I think. As he went through turn 1, he had a little kick of oversteer. I think he got a tap. I was riding on board with him, but he holds on to P6. He got ahead of Dutchman. Now Reynolds is ahead of Dutchman. And Reynolds is on the medium tyre, for goodness sake. Wow, what a position Reynolds is in at the moment. He's flying out there on the medium tyre. And the harder the tyre you have in damp conditions on this game, for some reason, the better it is. And as I say that, he runs a little bit wide, but yeah, this is really hurting Limitless. He needs to get past Gorsh immediately, and he's having a look up the inside into the chicane. He can't quite do it, and he's still stuck behind Gorsh. He got the move done though on Dutchman. It was a great move, but now he needs to clear Gorsh. Oh, up the inside through there. That puts so much trust and bravery in Gorsh, who's lost the rear, and Limitless is through. He frightened him out of the way and made it stick. That was ballsy. Oh, that was such an important move. And he could have made or broken his race there, and incredibly, Gorsh seen him coming, and through goes Limitless up into P5. What did you make of that one?
It's a brilliant bit of bravery, wasn't it? I mean, you don't expect to see people do that in league racing. You don't often see it at all. Gorsh now falling down the back. I think he may have had an issue of some sort of surprise. He's going for the lead of the Grand Prix. He's down the inside. They're nearly Barrichello Schumacher as we head into turn 1. Looks like Surprise has got the move done as he, they're wheel to wheel into turn 1. Surprise will force his way through that Ferrari and does get past, but Joe's going to be on the inside for turn 2. I wonder if that's going to pay dividends. Doesn't look like it will, and he does stay and gets into the lead. Does Lotche Surprise. He leads now from Joe and Simon.
He always seems to find a way, doesn't he? And he's done it again. Surprise from, what was it, 5th on the grid, 4th on the grid. Gets his way ahead of Simon at the start. A little bit of luck because Simon and Joe were scraping together. But now he's got ahead of OMG as Joe. His race pace may have haunted him once again. Surprise up into the lead of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Joe down to 2nd and Simon is 3rd. And Simon looks pretty quick as well. And he's right up behind these two. What a fight we have at the front between those three. Snazzy Evening is 1.5 off the pace behind, and then Veloce Limitless, who struggled to make progress through the traffic. Serial Rosberg is 6th. What? How is he 6th?
I was just about to say, that's crazy.
Where did he start? 17th?
He was 17th on the grid. It's incredible. Unbelievable stuff.
He's up 11 places. 11 at Hungary already. We've only done 6 laps, mate. What a recovery, what a return, I should say, to ILR1 that is, from CRL Rosberg. 11 places in 7 laps at Hungary. Oh, tip your hat off. I mean, that's an early contender for driver of the day, isn't it? Wow, absolutely incredible. So, we've got a few 5-second stop-go penalties popping up there. The Dutchman gets one, so not going well for him as Gorsh has come into the pits. Is it Inters? Yes, it is. Gorsh is into the pits for Inters as Veloce Surprise leads them on lap 7 out of 35. Joe is 2nd and Joe's running wide there. Is Simon close enough for a look? No, not on this occasion. Let's go further down the field, because I think there's a battle between Murso and FIFA. There is. 8th and 9th at the moment, these guys scrapping over. And a quick word on Murso. He's been brilliant, hasn't he, in recent weeks?
Yeah, he's been absolutely stellar, but this is not the kind of position you'd expect him to be in. The Haas hasn't really been as low as P9 he's in at the moment. It's not a great race for him, but I'm sure he won't mind having a bit of action now and again as a Force India cuts the corner. Whoa. And another one's going to cut the corner as well. It's Beatfru's gone straight off the road, and Thomas is going to find his way through and moves himself into P8 and gets ahead of this absolute gaggle of cars. These aren't racing cars, they're ducks, they're swans, there is a gaggle of them. There's so many of them, just all in one piece of tarmac. It's unbelievable to see, but Thomas is now going to come under pressure from Morso as they head into the right hander. Thinks better of it, does the Haas, and we know he's a wise head, does Morso, and doesn't go for that move.
This is mental. This is absolutely mental. P8 all the way down to what, about P14 in the shot. Absolutely ridiculous. But this isn't a safety.
Simon down the inside of Joe into turn 1. Goodness me, they're so close in the entry of turn 1. Couldn't get the move done there, and Simon has to sit behind. It got really close between them though. Surprise disconnected?
Yes, he has. There you go.
Unbelievable.
He has. Well, he He just popped up on my screen there with a big X next to his name, and I was waiting for the confirmation. There it is. The launches the prize. Your championship leader disconnects from the race. That's a real shame. He'd driven so brilliantly up to this point, but now he's on the sidelines. Can he get back into the lobby? That's the big question. It's now Joe leading again from Simon in second. Simon will really believe he can go on and win this race now. Snazzy Evening is third, and Snazzy is going so quickly. He was 1.5 seconds behind these guys. He's now right behind them, James. That is incredible how quickly Snazzy's caught them. So Snazzy on the charge. Surprise has now disappeared entirely off the screen, and then he goes back. He's back, and the time he joins, he drops behind Limitless down into P5, and by the time he gets into the car, he might even be further down than that. But let's go back to that midfield battle. How close is it now? It looks to have settled down a little bit. It was like Formula 4 racing a few moments ago. So let's go back to the front. Let's see if we can pick up OMG's Joe, and he really looks like he's struggling there. Snazzy Evening and Simon are all over the back of him on lap 8, now lap 9 out of 35. He's been overtaken once by surprise, and now Simon fancies a look. Simon down the outside in the light rain, in the drizzle. Can he get it stopped down there? They can just about get it stopped, but Simon is now under pressure on the exit from Snazzy Evening. He was forced wide by Joe, and thankfully Simon can hold on for just that little bit longer, but Joe is struggling for pace, he's struggling for grip, and Simon and Snazzy are all over the back of him like a rash as they climb the hill up towards turn 4. Look at Simon pushing his way onto the back of that Ferrari. Now through turn 5 they go. It's so treacherous out there. So many cars have come into the pits on this lap. Amazement, Hayden, Melanie, Beefer into the pits for intermediate tyres. Is it too wet out there now? Are these guys out the back of the circuit struggling? Are they sliding off the road? They really are lapping so slowly. Look at the pace they're going at. Joe ahead of Simon, ahead of Snazzy, with Limitless now up to P4. Surprise rejoins 5 seconds behind him in P5, and only just ahead of CRL Rosberg. But look how close it is between these three. I think we could see some position changes in the pits on this lap, James.
Yeah, it could be a major swing in this Grand Prix. All those guys on intermediates now could be, they look really good actually, those inters. Look like they've got a bit of grip to them. Everything else doesn't. Joe pits from the race lead.
Late. That was a late call, very late call from Joe, and he pits, as does Snazzy Evening. So they're both coming in. Simon carries on, that's a brave call. Limitless has come into the pits in the background as well. They're all pouring in. Surprise is in as well. Who's going to get ahead? Joe or Snazzy Evening? This is why they practice the pit stop so hard. Snazzy has to be held there.
He's done it.
Oh,
he's done it. Lead, surely.
Unbelievable. Snazzy Evening gets the jump in the pit stops ahead of Joe. I thought he was going to be held by Limitless, but Joe was obviously held up even more. And Snazzy Evening rejoins the race ahead of Joe. And with Simon surely struggling out there, surely that's going to promote Snazzy Evening into a short lead of this race. Who knows? Has Simon got the speed? Has he got the grip? Let's go and right on board with him as he goes up the hill through turn 5. Whoa, what do you think, James? It looks very treacherous out there now.
It's scary, isn't it? That back end, it doesn't want to stick to the road. It's all over the place. He's all over the curves as he hits the chicane there. He's all over the place, this McLaren. He's managing to keep it a little bit less drastic than maybe what I'm describing it as, but Deras has now been disabled.
Well, in no way is he going to be rejoining in the lead of this race. I'd be amazed if he is. It is really treacherous. It's now a question of whether he gets back to the pits or not. Simon crawling back in the McLaren to the pits. Joe came in, maybe he said to himself, I'm doing the opposite of Joe, I don't want to be held in the box, but surely it's backfired. Surely it's backfired. Look at him struggle out there. Rosberg must be struggling too. And finally, Simon, fortune doesn't always favour the brave, and he comes into the pits now. Oh, he can barely get round the final corner. Look at that, into the pits comes VSR Simon. Rosberg will follow him in just about, but is Snazzy Evening about to take a shock lead to this ILR Xbox race here in Hungary? This is a shock to the system if he is. He comes across the line. Where is Simon? He's leaving the box now, but Snazzy Evening's already crossed the line and into the lead of the Hungarian Grand Prix. I am speechless, James. You'll have to take over for a moment because it's Snazzy from Joe from Simon.
It's unbelievable. It's what this league has deemed itself on, is stuff like that. Stuff which just does not happen anywhere else. It's stunning. It's absolutely brilliant. The fact that he's managed to get ahead. He started 9th on the grid. He was nowhere in qualifying in comparison to the rest, but he's pulling it out the bag in that Mercedes, and how. Look at fantastic stuff. 1.7 seconds ahead then of OMG, it's Joe. 1.3 seconds Joe is ahead of VSR Simon. It's not worked at all for the German. He's now going to have to fight his way back through a couple of cars. It's going to be a tough old afternoon for him now in that McLaren. Surprise, he's still in P5. He's closing in on Limitless in P4, but it's not as close as what it was. Rosberg has, to be honest, closed the gap in terms of the gap that it was between himself and 5th place. A fine drive from the other Williams there. And if this is a team throughout the rest of the season, what a team it could be as well.
Well, it really could. It could help surprise in the championship. Powerful didn't really help him at all in the championship, so Rosberg might be able to do it. But the big story on lap 11 out of 35, yes, Snazzy Evening is leading in the Mercedes here in Hungary. He joined mid-season, showed pace in qualifying, at times not so in the race, but today it's all fell into place, and after 12 laps he is the man to beat. Joe and Simon, you would feel, you have to say, would possibly be quicker than him, particularly Simon, but in the intermediate conditions with no DRS it can be tricky to make a move as Joe slides the rear end there through turn 2. Can Joe, can Simon do anything to deny Snazzy Evening a first ever win in ILR, and a shock win at that? You said at the start of the broadcast, at the start of the race, it could be like Hungary 2006. Well, James, so far it has been.
Yeah, absolutely called it. Nail on the head, I'm going to say there. But some people, and I'll be honest, I was one, doubted Snazzy Evening. I really did doubt him. I didn't think he was going to be all that. I mean, everyone did. Let's be real. Everyone thought that he was a time trial merchant and he couldn't win a race in this league because he's only quick in qualifying. Look at this. 2 seconds out in front in wet conditions. Potentially one of the hardest tracks in wet conditions as well. It's so difficult, the traction zones around here. We've not really picked up on it across this broadcast, but it is so tricky on traction, this Hungaroring circuit. And he's doing a fine job in the lead. This would be one to put the doubters down. This would be one to prove the doubters wrong. It'd be a brilliant result if he can pull it off.
Yeah, can he start 2019 in style? Joe's really struggling with the tyre temperatures. He slides like Colin McRae through the final corner. Now, Simon is right behind him and is basically pushing him. And this is going to be a vital move for Simon. If he wants to beat Snazzy Evening, he needs to get this move done now. On the brakes into turn 1 goes the McLaren. Joe's out wide and through goes Simon up into P2. And if there's anyone out there that can deny Snazzy Evening today, it's the German. He won last time out and he's back up into second place. He runs a little bit wide, but Joe can't deny him that place. And Simon is up into P2, and now a 3-second gap has opened up to Snazzy Evening. Can he start to reel it in? I wouldn't bet against him, James.
Absolutely, but Snazzy doesn't look half bad in these conditions. Let's be honest, a podium would be incredible. Even a podium would be incredible because it's just not expected. He's not expected to finish on the podium, and that's exactly what I said. So many guys could win a race in this league now, 5 or 6. Maybe he's that 6th. Maybe he's that one who is the unlikely source of a win in this league. Like, no one expected it. I certainly didn't. He could still do it. He may not do it because Simon is so quick at the moment on those intermediate tyres. It is a joke. He is so fast. He's narrowed the gap in 2 sectors. Well, actually, we'll call it the best part of a sector by 9/10 of a second. Best part of 9/10 of a second. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, and Snazzy Evening's got it all to lose. Simon doesn't. Simon's been there before. He's won before. Not just in this league, but in other leagues too. Snazzy Evening, no. This is a big moment for Snazzy, as Simon already whittles the gap down to under 2 seconds. This is quicker than I thought he would catch him. Joe has been left for dead. He has been left for dead by VSR Simon. Quite incredible. Let's go to a battle further down the field. You know what, for a little bit, let's have a look at this one. Look at this. Amazement 9th, Langman 10th, Hayden 11th, and Reynolds in 12th. The 4 of these guys all scrapping like crazy for position. Langman having a look, but Reynolds looks the more likely here. He's on the back of Hayden, down the hill into turn 1. He's going to have to go the long way round. Is he going to cut back on the exit? It's such a clever move that if he can make it work. He is now on the outside of Hayden for turn 2. Not where you want to be, but on this occasion, doesn't look like he can do it. Going to take the karting line on the outside, tries to switch back to the inside. Oh, that's beautiful from Reynolds. Great car placement, but still to no avail. He can't find a way through Hayden. He's certainly looking for the moves, but he can't do it. As Simon now almost goes under the 1 second barrier on the battle out front. We'll go to that in a minute as Amazement runs really wide through turn 5 and allows Langman to get even closer to him. What a battle that is. 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th, all flashing through your shot at the moment. And Hayden looked a little bit wide there, and here comes Reynolds again. Still no way through as Martin picks up a 3-second time penalty and Snazzy moves to within a second now. As Ghost retires too.
Yeah, Snazzy is really now feeling the heat. He's feeling the pressure of a feisty German behind him. Now, just there's half a second between Snazzy Evening and Simon. It's so close out front at the moment. It's going to be just a case of if and when for this McLaren. He runs very deep into turn 1, having said that though, so may not be all over for him just yet, and he's just got to play his cards right now as the Mercedes. He's got to hold him up for as long as he can. There's 20 laps of this Grand Prix. We don't know how long this rain will last. It could get worse. The track conditions could well improve. If it improves, then who knows what's going to happen in this race. Langman once again is sizing a move on the Amazement into turn 1. He's up the inside, the other Ferrari. I don't think he's going to get the move done, or he's going to prove me wrong once again. Langman on the outside for turn 2 now, and he should get this move done. Amazement won't give up though. We know what he's like, and he's not going to be up in the 6 just yet, is he, Joe? But he's going to have to hold it there, and he can't quite do it. Langman's gone right around the outside of him, and it's a stunning move from the Ferrari. Some brilliant action, some brilliant overtakes we've seen in this Hungarian Grand Prix.
Yeah, great respect shown there between both drivers. I really enjoyed watching that. Amazement tried his very, very best to cling on to 2 World Championship points, but in the end, he's only left with 1 as he drops down to P10 now. Hayden and Reynolds not far behind. He'll need to regroup if he wants to ensure he gets something from this Grand Prix. But that was a lovely move from Langman in the Ferrari. Let's go back out front because Simon is all over the back of that Mercedes. But in damp conditions, can be a little bit tricky on this game to make a move, but Simon is so much quicker. It's hard to bear against him. Down the hill towards turn 1 they go. Lap 16 of the 35. Is this the moment Simon wrestles control of the Hungarian Grand Prix? He's going to go late on the brakes. He's a little look up the inside. Snazzy makes him fight for it. He forces him right out onto the curb, and there's no way through for Simon. That was a big warning though for Snazzy. He can't afford to have a poor exit or Simon will be there attacking down into turn 1. He's right into his gearbox as they go through turn 2 and down the hill through turn 3. But Snazzy Evening, for now, is holding on here in ILR1 in Xbox on lap 16 of the first race of 2019, the Hungarian Grand Prix, and what a race it's been so far. Still, Snazzy Evening clinging on at the moment, but you have to say Simon looks the more likely. He's all over the back of him as they go through the chicane. It's just a matter of when, not if, you have to feel, James.
Yeah, the smallest of margins as well. The gap that he went for, he had all that road to the outside of him. He had Budapest to the left of him, but he decided to go straight down the inside of him, and it didn't work. But he's going for the smallest gaps. You can't leave anything for this McLaren. He's going to eat it up, and he's going to take it. Any opportunity he has, he's going to take it. For once, you're seeing Simon in combat with a race leader. I mean, with surprise, it's a bit ifs and buts with those two in how much they race each other really hard. But these two will have to race each other really hard. There's nothing going on between these two. I'm certainly sure on that one that they wouldn't be in a party with each other, so let's assume that they're going to be racing as hard as they possibly can. Simon's going to have to pull it all out the bag, though, as they head down towards turn 1. He's in the slipstream, but he's a little bit too far back, you feel. Left on that brake pedal, he touches the Mercedes! He's so close to him, he's actually tapped him. It's unbelievable how late he's gone with the left foot there. Incredible stuff.
Wow. Wowee, that was very, very close. That just shows you how much these guys are on a knife edge at the moment out there on the racetrack. Snazzy Evening still holds on, but as they battle, are they going to allow Joe and Limitless back into it? Joe doesn't seem to have the pace. Limitless sure does. He's closed right onto the back of OMG of Joe, and the longer Simon's stuck behind him, the more you feel it might bring Limitless and Surprise back into it. Joe at the moment not finding the pace he needs. You have to feel that Joe's pace is similar to that of Snazzy Evening. You really do. Is this going to bring Limitless and Surprise back into it? If it is, they need to get a move on and get past that Ferrari before Simon gets attacking again on Snazzy Evening. Because it looks to me like Simon looks very likely to make a move in the next few laps. Reynolds picks up a 3-second time penalty as we watch Limitless go very, very wide out onto the curb. You don't want to be doing that as Surprise threatens to dip under 1 second. to Veloci Limitless. That is going to be a key battle. But let's go back to the front two again. Ghost Crab has left the session. Incredibly, that just shows you how poor the Ultrasofts were. The two guys on the front row are now retired and last. They were 17th and 18th, last and second last. Now one of them's retired, so there you go. That tells you how poor that strategy was. And that was even with the aid of some rain. Here comes Simon again, onto the back of Snazzy Evening, down into turn one, and again he's not close enough. And Snazzy holds on. It's simple. It's simple for Snazzy. Keep the car on the island, keep it clean out of that final corner, and you should go on to win the race. You have to feel that's the case, but it goes a little deep into turn two. Gives Simon that extra bit of motivation, that extra bit of hope that he needs, but not quite enough to get through on that Mercedes. We're now beyond the halfway point. Still Snazzy leads, but how he's going to keep this McLaren behind, I have no idea. He needs to be inch perfect, A plus for the next few laps. The next, 17 laps of this Grand Prix. He wants to cling on to this lead, doesn't he, James?
He's going to have to, and he's got traffic ahead of him in the form of the Dutchman who started P2 on the grid. You're right what you're saying there, because those Ultrasofts really did not work at all. I mean, if they lasted just that little bit longer, they may have played a big part in this Grand Prix. They haven't, and it's cost them dear, and they're not even going to finish in the points now. Joe is just running so much wider than them as well at the moment. That's a battle that's starting to form. Surprise is gaining and gaining on those guys. It's not over yet for the current championship leader.
Yeah, it really isn't. It's so close. And Limitless, if he wants to have any snippet victory here this afternoon, he needs to pass Joe now. So many times he spoke about being stuck behind the Ferrari. I had a joke about how he'd have a Ferrari postcard with Joe on the back of it, a Christmas card, I should say. But here comes Simon again on the inside of Snazzy. Snazzy shuts the door again, but has he scared him into a mistake there? Has he made a mistake there, Snazzy, by going wide? Simon has a snip. He's trying to force the issue. He's on the outside as he goes down to turn two. Surely Snazzy will force him wide. Still no way through for Simon. What about the cutback on the engine? Can he slingshot his way through turn two and into turn three? He's wide. He's off the track. He now has the inside, but picks up a 3-second time penalty, but makes the move stick.
Oh no! He's in the barriers!
He's in the wall! Unbelievable! The McLaren, threatening to take the victory, has now crashed into the barrier and spun at turn 4. The front wing is damaged. He's got a penalty as well. Simon's hopes of victory have gone up in flames. Was there contact? I'm not sure. Did you see it, James?
I was riding on board, and it's brilliant that I'm going to say this. I was on board with Snazzy Evening as he come up there. There was definite contact on my screen, but I don't want to pose the question just yet, because we know what this game's like in desync. We don't know if it was really that close or not. I'm sure he wouldn't have gone flying off into the barriers like that. I'm really not too sure. I can't put my finger on it because I haven't seen every point of view, and I haven't seen what everyone else in this lobby may have seen. But from what I saw, there was a nudge in the rear wing of that McLaren. I don't want to put my finger on it though, because it always comes back to bite me afterwards, so I won't put my finger on it, but that's definitely what I saw. Desync could be playing a factor there.
Yeah, a few people in the chat believe that was definite contact. We'll keep an eye on it, but look at this, it's really opened up the race now. Snazzy's only 1.7 now, ahead of Joe, who's ahead of Limitless, who's ahead of Veloci Surprise. It really is a case of who can pass Joe and make this a threat. Can Limitless and Surprise? They've got the pace on these two. Surprise has got the pace on them all, but Limitless has got a chance here. But he needs to get onto the back of that Ferrari and think about making a move. At the moment, he's now a second behind him, and Surprise is the man at the moment on the charge. You have to feel Snazzy Evening is going to win this race as long as Joe's in second.
Whatever happens, I think any of the current guys in the top 3 could be actually a bit of a shock to the system. I didn't think we expected any of these 3 to maybe win this race. We were pointing at Limitless, we were prodding him saying he could win this race, but we didn't really expect it to happen, especially not in these kind of circumstances. And after that start, you would have saying this was well out the window, so if he wins this, maybe go down as maybe his one of the great league racing wins he's had, because it would be stunning if he could pull this off.
Well, it would be. Can he do it? I mean, there's a few people have fallen around him, for Simon in particular. Marston's having a nightmare of a race, by the way. His teammate, he's down in 14th. Not too sure. It's been a quiet afternoon. I've been too busy watching other things, but Simon has slipped all the way down to P14. An average start to the race, didn't move up from P8. Maybe a mistake in the pit stop or a slide somewhere's cost him. I'm not too sure. Snazzy Evening, after that turbulent few laps, has now opened up the gap to 1.9. Joe doesn't look like he can gain either. He's 1.8 behind, not gaining, and he's actually getting away from Limitless now. A second the gap between Joe and Limitless. Is Limitless buckling under the pressure of Veloci Surprise, James? Perhaps he is, because Surprise looks the most menacing at the moment, doesn't he?
He does, but I think they know what Joe's like on his tyres, and I think that may be playing slightly into their hands here, because Joe could be pushing that a little bit more, because he can see the bait, if you like. He can see Snazzy Evening just up the road. He's thinking, yeah, I could catch him, I could definitely catch him, I could definitely pass him. But he knows his tyres probably aren't thinking that. They're probably thinking, oh no, let's not go through the strain again. This isn't what we want at this point in the race. Let's see what happens though, because it's so close between the top four at the moment. Any of these guys could win it. I think any of them could. It's going to be crazy, these last 14 laps or so of this Hungarian Grand Prix. What a way to kick off 2019.
What a way indeed. Simon might disagree, but this has been incredible. It has been incredible. Will there be a Stewart's inquiry on Snazzy Evening coming out of this race? A few people think there was contact. You included think there was contact. You don't, obviously. You want to be conservative about that though. You're not 100% sure, but we think anyway. We'll wait and see come the end. We'll wait and see what the stewards will say. We've got a fantastic battle between the front four. How Joe suddenly found 310s, I don't know. Limitless dropping back, looking the least likely in this group at the moment. Lots of surprises there. P4 still can't get close enough. These damp conditions are making overtaking difficult. It's cagey. It's all about who makes mistakes. You've got to credit Simon though. He might have went into the wall, but he was making dives up the inside. He was making Snazzy position his car. He was making him miss his braking points. Is that what Veloci Surprise needs to start doing to his Veloci teammate, his Veloci rival? Limitless, can he do it? Can he try and do that? Let's keep an eye on that. Let's keep an eye as well on Murso and Jorken Langman fighting for 6th, 7th and 8th. That looks like a mega scrap too. That's one to watch. What about CRL Rosberg? Started 17th in his return. He's now running P5. Is he your driver of the day today? At the moment, it's hard to argue with. But what about Snazzy if he wins? There's so many different stories developing in this race. And at the moment, with it settling down a little out front, let's enjoy this one, James. Murso, Jorken Langman, 6th, 7th and 8th.
Absolutely right. And Jork, we've seen in Baku, let's not forget, he got pole position in wet conditions, so he's not too bad in these conditions. And if one Renault's poor in the dry, this one certainly is as good in the wet. It looks like he's going to try and challenge Morso. It's not often you see Morso under severe pressure, and he really is under some severe pressure. Langman has really got into his own in this part of the Grand Prix. It'd be a great result for him. Let's consider he started from the back of the grid, and he's going to go for a move here. Looked like he was going to try it on the corner where I said you couldn't make a move. He's going to try it though on the inside of Jork. He's run a bit wide. He's got a bit off the road there, all over the curb, and Langman does find himself ahead of that Renault, who I did say just a moment ago was good in wet conditions. Dare I want to take that one back. But now we're going to have to see if Langman can get on the move and VSR more so ahead of him.
I have to say, James, that there is exactly what I was talking about with Simon earlier. Try moves in places where it doesn't look likely. Try and scare the opponent, and that's what Langman did there. A little look around the outside of Jock in a place where it wasn't possible. Maybe put him off guard a little bit. Jock was busy looking in the mirrors. He missed the apex to the next corner, and Langman made the move. That's what it's all about, isn't it, in these damp conditions? At times, force the issue, show some aggression, and maybe the car in front will make a mistake. And that's exactly what Langman did. And through he goes up with the P7. Lovely work.
Absolutely, it is. But just another point I've just looked. If you're riding on ball with anyone, quite a significant fact has happened here because it's stopped raining. It has stopped raining out on circuit now. And it's now just a case of how long this track will take to dry. There is a massive dry line emerging, but it's a case of just how long they have to wait. How dare they may dare to go on the ultra soft tyres at the end of this Grand Prix. All of those top four, maybe even the top five. It's who's going to take the bait fastest, who's going to go for it fastest, who's going to go for it earliest. It's so many variables to be thrown in with the next 12 laps or so. It's crucial though that they nail it. They cannot not nail it, because if you don't nail it now, you've lost a podium, most definitely. The win, almost certainly. It's going to be so difficult in the last 11 laps of this Grand Prix.
I mean, this is absolutely incredible. There's so many things getting thrown into the mix here. The strategies at the start, then the rain came down, then some people pitting when they maybe should have and maybe they shouldn't have, times like that. Totally mixed it all up. And now the track is starting to dry out. We're looking from the commentary box window. We don't see rain. We see partially cloudy skies, overcast skies without the menacing darkness in the sky above. Is it drying out? It certainly looks like it, as you mentioned, James. Well, it be time to go on to drive before the end? You would certainly think so at some point in the next 11 laps. When will that moment arrive? It's a bit of a stalemate out front now. Joe remaining at around 1.9 to Snazzy. Limitless remaining at around a second and Surprise at 6/10. I don't know how none of them are able to force the issue and make any moves at the moment, but it isn't happening for them. Let's keep an eye on this though. Langman, who has been looking brilliant in the last few laps, he's passed Jork and now he wants to make a move on Murso. Can he do it? Murso once again going onto the radar and putting in a solid performance in P6, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, and it's the kind of performance we've become accustomed to, should I say. He's really turned up the star, turned up the wick in races like this. He just can pull it out the bag, he can get some big points when he needs to. P6, it's a good result for him, but we have seen him on the podium. I'm not going to say that he's probably got the place for the podium here today, but he's definitely had a good enough drive to P6. But let's just see, these conditions have improved so quickly. Now it's a case, I think, for the leads. He says a stalemate. I think they're just level on pace now. I mean, that's when you call a stalemate. It's when they're level on pace, and that's exactly what's going on right at the moment. It's brilliant to see, but it's who's the quickest now on the dry.
Langman was almost inside the gearbox of Merceau in the final corner there. So aggressive on the attack. Sorry, James, come across. And now he's going to go down the inside into turn one. Langman, he's the man on the circuit at the moment that's making things happen, and he's made it happen again. Down the inside on VSR Murso. He made Jock steer off the road, and now he's made a lovely move on Murso. Down into turn one, and the Ferrari dances through and up into P6. Lovely move from him. Murso down to 7. John 8. Look at Reynolds now joining the group in the background in P9. Can he make a move soon? But I have to agree with you, it has been a bit of a stalemate out front, but all of a sudden, a mistake from Joe.
Goodness,
yeah,
and look, on the inside. He's got the move done on the Ferrari and he's passed. Oh my goodness me, that come from nowhere from the Red Bull, but that Ferrari was just toying with his right foot there and didn't know where to plant it. Brilliant move from Limitless.
Well, he must have made a mistake somewhere on the racetrack. Joe, he's coming into the pits. Is that a case of his tyres are finished? Surely not ready for a set of drives. We've said it so many times about Joe. He overheats the tyres all the time. Limitless is free. Surprise is free. Now, do they have the pace to chase down Snazzy Evening 44 and make a huge change to this race? Joe is in the pits and he's fitted a set of dry tyres. Simon retires from the race. A forgettable afternoon after such a good early exchange. Both Force Indias are on the sidelines, but let's look at Joe. Has he got the grip? Look at the oversteer as he makes his way out of the pits. Martin now also retiring from the race on soft tyres. That might tell you what's going to happen to Joe here. And he's really struggling as Joe, as he lights up the rears coming out of the pits. Surely there's no chance. Look at him, let's go on board with him.
All the soft runners. Yeah, all of them just gone board with this 2 or 3 out there, all on soft tyres, and they're all just all over the place. It's like an ice rink. If you've ever tried driving a car in wet conditions on slick tyres, it's nigh on impossible. The front end doesn't move. Your braking is your only form of rotation, and you're going to see that with Joe. He just can't put the foot down. It's even the right foot may even give him a bit of traction, just trying to turn that car around. It's so difficult. He's got no grip whatsoever, and he's really struggling now in that Ferrari. It's a case now then, this top 3 I think could stay as it is.
Yeah, look,
Langman's all over him.
Ease past him. Yeah, it's going to be easy for Langman. Joe should get out of the way.
Surprise is in.
That's what he should do. And Langman's through, and Surprise is in. Surely that's a mistake. Surely that is a mistake. That's incredible. I'm very surprised at that. Maybe they're getting close to puncture territory. Maybe that's the issue here. 17 laps on the set of inters. Look at the state of them as they come off. They're absolutely shredded. There wasn't much tread left on them, and Surprise finally leaves the box. And apologies for that glitch, the game was playing around with this, but Surprise is out of the pits. But he will surely rejoin miles ahead of Joe. And look at him, he's lighting up the rears as he leaves the pits, and he is well ahead of Joe. Look at the distance. More than 10 seconds ahead of Joe.
Yeah. There's so many retirements and they're all on dry tyres. Marceau's up the inside of Joe now as well. He's got a move done. There's more Inters runners behind him. Jork and Reynolds are side by side and they could overtake the Ferrari as well. In towards turn 2, Reynolds is up the inside of him. Goodness me, those Inters are still well in condition. This may be the worst call that Joe's made all season because he's losing positions now hand over fist. Unbelievable.
Yeah, surprised they'll be losing position soon to these guys as well. Unbelievable. Lineman and Mursell coming charging through. Look at Reynolds, look at the state of his tyres. They're shot to pieces. He's got 19 lap old tyres. He's going side by side with Mursell. He's going up the inside and he's through. Just look at that shot. That was a perfect shot. As off the track now goes Reynolds, and round he goes into the wall, into a spin. And I think that was purely down to the lack of grip in his tyres as he sits in the middle of the road. Look at the state of them. There's nothing left. There's no
Yeah, the
tread left
leader's
on
in.
them. And in comes Snazzy Evening. Limitless now leads, and he goes for the soft tyres. It isn't ready. The track is nowhere near ready. And I wouldn't be surprised with Martin out of the race. I think Martin will be watching this stream, telling Limitless exactly what's going on. We've seen how well they work together as a team. Surely Martin will be feeding the information to Limitless. This track is not ready. Snazzy Evening is pitted. Is he ahead of Surprise? Yes, he is. By a mile. He's ahead by a mile. Unbelievable. And Limitless now leads, and surely it's all about whether or not he picks up a puncture before he comes into the pits, because he's going to surely go on and lead this race. What a race this is. Incredible.
This is unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. I've done league racing for 7 years and I've never seen the state of this. This is unbelievable. The sheer amount of change is just crazy. I didn't expect anything of the sorts to happen here.
Oh, Limitless is going to go for a huge ride. Oh, he nearly lost it. He nearly went into the wall and threw it away. Oh, that was heart and mouth moment for everyone down at Red Bull. For us in the commentary box, that was nearly a huge moment. And for anyone that supports Limitless, that would have been, right on the limit. Oh, he was so off the track. He was sliding like crazy, heading towards the wall, but he's tippy-toed back to the pits, and he's coming in, and he's been losing time recently. Surely the track is now dry.
Surely
Snazzy
Ultras.
Evening, yeah, he's got to go for Ultras, and Snazzy Evening will regain control of the race, I think. Limitless rejoins in a moment, but Snazzy Evening will surely take back the lead.
It's going to be so
Yes,
close
he
between him and
does.
Surprise. It's going to be so close between him and Surprise as they head towards turn 1. Surprise. He's got ahead of Limitless. They're going to be wheel to wheel into turn 1. Surely, no, not quite. And Surprise does get ahead of the Red Bull, but brilliant stuff. So Limitless now is on 2-lap fresher tyres. He's got to get a move on.
Yeah, he does, but he went for softs. That's the big key here. What a race this is. Reynolds is out, Torres is out, Simon's out, Martin's out, Beefer and Gosh also out of this race. Presumably all struggling out there in the damp conditions. Hungary 2006, tick the box, James. You're spot on. Hungary 2011, tick the box, James. You're right. It's exactly like that. Dry, wet, dry, utter mayhem from start to finish. And Snazzy Evening at the moment is the man keeping his head. He's the man with the right strategy. He's got a 3.7 lead to hold on against Veloci Surprise to win his first ILR1 race ever and pull off the biggest shock to start 2019. Unfortunately though, the man behind him is a seasoned winner. He's a veteran. He's a man that wins races for fun. Is he going to spoil the party to start 2019? We've got 6.5 laps to go. It's Snazzy from Surprise, from Veloci Limos, who at one moment, a few laps ago, looked like he was on to win.
This, I mean, Andy, you may even have to agree with me here, but this has got to go down as one of the greatest ILR races, maybe even league races of all time. This is absolutely incredible. The sheer amount of difference is unbelievable. I would go as far as saying it's the best league race I've ever seen. It is absolutely crazy. Just the sheer amount of change, variation, the overtakes, the retirements, the shocks. It's had it all. It's had it all in abundance. And if there's ever anything that could tell you what Formula One should be like, this is exactly what Formula One should be like. Just mayhem, pure mayhem from start to checkered flag. It is crazy to see.
I don't know what to sum it up, but confusion, unpredictability, madness.
It's the Leicester City of all league races. It's unbelievable.
It's the Kilmarnock FC of all league races. But it really is incredible. It is 5.5 laps to go. Snazzy Evening leads, but Surprise is cutting the gap down. He's slicing it down like a hot knife through butter. Is he going to do a Canada 2011 Jenson Button last lap manoeuvre? But the way the race has gone, I wouldn't be surprised. It has been incredible. Veloci Surprise, championship leader, fancies another victory to start the year, but Snazzy Evening has never, ever, ever won in ILR. Is he going to do it today? Veloci Surprise and Veloci Limitless are going to do their utmost to deny it. It has been a stunning race. I'm right up there with one of the best I've commentated on. Perhaps, James, purely for the madness of it, the unpredictability of it, the chaos of it, the best ever. It could be, in my opinion. I'm going to have to sit back and think about it. I can't say it outright right now, but maybe not in terms of the battling, but certainly in terms of the unpredictability, the confusion it's caused. It's right up there, if not the craziest race I have seen. And unbelievably, with 4 and a bit laps to go, it's Snazzy Evening who leads. Can he hold on? I don't have a clue, because as soon as you predict something in this race, you're proved wrong, as Limitless picks up a 3-second time penalty.
Yeah, it's just, you can't, there's no words to describe it. I mean, you could throw any words you would like at this Grand Prix. There's a word I'm looking for, but I can't even think of what the word is to describe the words we need to describe it. But it is unbelievable, just brilliant. But it's not over yet. There's still a couple of laps to go. Snazzy Evening is on the verge of some serious history. I'll tell you, this is history in the making, I think. And he's gone and set the fastest lap of this Grand Prix, and then beaten by Veloci Surprise as well. It isn't over yet, folks. 3 laps to go, 2.2 seconds. The championship leader is on a hunt, and he is on the hunt for the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Yeah, it's hungry for hungry. He really is. Veloci Surprise looking to snatch it away. You've got to credit Snazzy Evening. He isn't buckling, he isn't bottling it to set such a quick lap. Okay, Surprise beat it, but it was still competitive enough. It was quick enough to win this Grand Prix. Keep doing laps like that and you will beat Veloci Surprise. He won't get there in time. Let's go on board with that Williams car as he tries to hunt down Snazzy Evening to win this race. Remember, Veloci Surprise disconnected from this Grand Prix earlier on. We almost forgot. So much else has happened over the last 32 and a half laps. It's been incredible. Surprise looked favourite. Then there was a moment where Simon looked favourite. Snazzy Evening looked favourite. Limitless even looked favourite at one point. In the early exchanges, Joe looked favourite. But now, it looks like Snazzy Evening. If he can keep it all together over the next 3.5 laps, he is going to take home the victory in what can only be described as one of the greatest ILR races of all time. He leads and sets another fastest lap and is beaten by a 10.5 by Surprise, but a 10 is enough. More than enough for Snazzy to do the job.
I'll tell you what, this race actually, let's go far as saying, it's probably a credit to league racing, because the amount of controversy, the amount of what has gone on in league racing over years, recent years especially, has just been so down, so in the depths, nothing's really gone on. And league racing has been maybe at its very low, maybe at its very lowest at some points in the last couple of years. But if there's an advertisement for it, this would be right up there to prove it.
Surprise nearly crashed there. The rear end was so gone, almost as gone as Limitless. You might not have seen it, James. The guys watching will have seen it. Oh my goodness me, that was about 20, 30 millimetres away from going into a spin and into the wall at turn 4 like Simon. Breathe again. Sorry, James, continue.
He's pushing like crazy, isn't he? He's absolutely flying in that Williams. It's crazy. Unbelievable. He's pushing so hard. I've not seen him. I don't think we've seen him at any point this season on the limit as much as he is right now, because that is crazy stuff. Unbelievable.
That was so close. He certainly won't get. He somehow gets. How did he get past his lap there? Limitless pumps in a 17.8. I think that's the kind of time Surprise might have been doing there if he'd not had that moment. Because of course the track is drying, so that's how he set it. But wow, that was such a big slide for Veloci Surprise. He's got such a huge lead in the championship. I mean, he could probably afford to go into the wall like that. But just for the drama of it all, that just shows you how much these guys are on the edge in this race. And as you say, I've not seen him on the limit pushing this hard in so long. But credit where credit's due to a certain Snazzy Evening 44. He's now only 1.5 laps away from sealing the victory. He leads from Surprise, he leads from Limitless, Joe and Rosberg. I have to ask everyone watching, who is your driver of the day? I'm going to briefly, I mean, it's an absolutely ridiculous question to ask at the moment, but I'm going to have to ask it. There is the position changes. Snazzy Evening, up 8 from P9. Is he your driver of the day? Surprise up 2, Limitless up 2, Joe up 2, CRL Rosberg and Landman from the back row of the grid have both gone up 12 places to 5th and 6th. Does your driver of the day go to either of those two? York is up 5 to P7, more so down 1 now to P8. Amazement is 9th, Hayden is 10th, Melanie and Dutchman are 11th and 12th. You've got to say the main contenders, Snazzy Evening, Rosberg on his return, and Langman, especially with the punchy moves that we were watching from Langman earlier on in this Grand Prix. But let's watch Snazzy Evening 44. We've had someone in the chat head up straight away and say CRL Rosberg, driver of the day. A few others saying Rosberg, Langman and Surprise, all worthy. But let's keep an eye on Snazzy Evening. No mention of Snazzy yet. Is that perhaps due to the incident earlier on with Simon? Will he be under investigation from that? He might be. But at the moment, he deserves his moment in the sun for now. He is going to be probably under investigation later on. But let's not cloud that over for now. Here comes Snazzy Evening into the final sector of the lap. With Surprise and Limitless, 2 Veloci members behind him. He will realise when he gets the line just how big a feat this is. They called him a time trial merchant. They said he couldn't race. They said he didn't have the race pace. But Snazzy Evening is going to start 2019 by proving the doubters wrong. He rounds the final corner here in Hungary, and Snazzy Evening wins the Hungarian Grand Prix here in ILR Xbox. He takes the victory in what can only be described as one of the greatest races in ILR history. Veloci Surprise is second, Veloci Limitless is third, and OMG's Joe will come home in fourth. James, what a race, what a victory.
I've got a smile from ear to ear. It is unbelievable. Unbelievable. It did not ever did we think at some points, I genuinely never thought this man would stand on top of an ILR podium. At some points I didn't think he'd ever stand on an ILR podium. Let's head back to France. Let's remember the state contact with Thierry Martin in the first couple of corners in that Grand Prix. Silverstone, he was gone, he was out of that. Germany proved his pace at times, but was nowhere near on the levels he is today. Because 13 is unlucky for some, but he wears it with pride because he's won the Hungarian Grand Prix in spectacular fashion.
Unbelievable. I cannot wait for the podium interviews. It has been a pleasure. Luckily for you, James, you have the joy of asking the questions. Unbelievable. What a race. What a race. And there they are on the podium. Snazzy Evening wins for the first time in ILR here in Hungary. Just like Jenson Button did back in 2006. You said it at the start, James. That has got... It might only be January the what? The 5th? The 4th? I think you might have just made the call of the year with that one. We're only 4 days into it, but what a call it was. Snazzy Evening wins from Veloci Surprise and Veloci Limitless in a race where anyone could have won it. There was times where we thought Surprise would win it. There was times where we even thought Limitless would win it. There was times where we thought Joe would win it early on. There was times where we thought Simon would win it. But in the end, it was Snazzy Evening 44 that came out on top from no further down than 9th on the grid to win the Hungarian Grand Prix in a dry, wet, dry affair. What a race. He wins from Surprise. Limitless is third. Joe comes home fourth with 12 World Championship points. CRL Rosberg, 17th on the grid on his return, finishes in 5th. A few people have mentioned him for driver of the day. Langman came from the back row as well. P18 to come home sick. They both gained 12 places during this race. A fine effort from him. Some great overtakes along the way as well. VSR Morso came home 7th. Jot 94 came home 8th. It was 9 for the amazement. 2 World Championship points there. And LCR Hayden rounded off his afternoon with a point in 10th. What a race it was. Melanie, Dutchman, Reynolds, and Melanie and Dutchman were the final finishers. Reynolds, Thomas, Simon, Martin, Beefer, and Ghosh all retired from the race. And would you believe it? The 2 men on the front row didn't even get a point. Unbelievable. What a race. Where do we start? Let's hopefully get everyone into the room for interviews. At the moment, we only have Veloci Surprise. Hopefully, we can get a few others in. I know Surprise is a few of them as friends. If you can invite them, it would be ideal. We don't have Snazzy. I'll try and get Snazzy. Yeah, what a race, James. I mean, how do we sum that up?
It's quite difficult to sum a race like that up, isn't it? Because so much has gone on, and the words don't describe just how much that race was. Just for a neutral watching that would have been amazing. Like if people were watching that, and if you're watching at home and you're watching that and you're looking and you're thinking, what has just happened? Like, you may have to just sit back and remember, because I just know for a fact on Twitter the other day he was getting a fair bit of stick with Snazzy Evening, and the fact that he's done what he's done there is just incredible. Um, yeah, and if you don't mind for a second, mate, I'm going to ask you a quick favour. Could you make the party joinable just so we can get a race leader in? Because for some reason he can't join during invites. Unheard of, I
Okay, I've
know.
invited him, but I'll make it joinable. Hold on 2 minutes.
No.
Let's do that. Make the part joinable. There we go. And hopefully be able to join like that. But yeah, what a race. What a race. Probably, and as you said, James, probably one of the craziest, the most unpredictable, the most mental races I've ever commentated on. Okay, some of the side action was great. It wasn't constant lap after lap, but it was so engrossing. It was so edge of seat stuff. Yeah, and we mentioned it moments ago there. You didn't know who was going to win it at various moments of the race. It was absolutely mental. I still don't think we've got Snazzy Evening, do we? No, we don't.
No.
So for
We,
now, James, you might as well start
yeah.
piloting the other two, and I'll work on it. I'll work on it.
Right, so surprise P2 today. I mean, it was an amazing race for a neutral. First of all, I mean, I'm not sure what it was like in the cockpit of the car, but for us watching, it was incredible. Was there? I mean, just how hair and scaring was that race? Because it was so changeable. The conditions were changing all the time, it seemed like, and it was just a case of the big calls, going onto those the intermediate tyres, and then going back onto the dries. Just how critical were those calls today?
Um, yeah, it was challenging. It's like deciding what lap to pit can make or break your race really. If it's too dry or if it's too wet. I like from what I can remember anyway. I was kind of bored that race. I wasn't after I disconnected. I wasn't really uh, feeling the game to be honest. I didn't want to. I just wanted to quit to be honest. But yeah, I was disconnected while I was in the lead. I got back in. I was in P5, which was better than I thought. I didn't drop down too far down the field. And then from there, it was literally just lap after lap after lap on the inters. Just it just got kind of boring. And then it was until me and JD started to catch up to Joe a little bit, and then there was a bit of battle in there. And then I seen Simon in the wall, and then I don't even know what happened to JD. I just jumped him in the pits, and then that's pretty much it. I couldn't catch Snazzy. GG to him on his first win as well. Good drive, and JD on another podium as well.
Yeah, would you say it was? I mean, we'll go to obviously Snazzy isn't in the party, but I mean, from another driver's perspective, it'd be nice to hear because a lot of people, they did criticise him. We were saying this in commentary. A lot of people criticised him because of his time trial efforts and how quick he was in TT, but was he able to prove it in a race? So, were you maybe? I don't want to. Were you one of the doubters? Because that would be kind of harsh, but it's got to be a fair amount, of respect that goes out to him for winning a race like that because it couldn't have been as easy as it looked.
Yeah, before the race, I was in a party with JD, Martin, Simon, and we were all saying that we think Snaz Evening's a threat in quali, and then in the race he kind of drops off a little bit, kind of like Joe. But today he just, I didn't really know what happened. He was just his race pace was great, even in the inters conditions. But I seen he had an incident with Simon. I don't know whose fault that was, but yeah, that's about the only thing I seen. But yeah, he had great pace in qualifying and the race.
All right, well, congratulations on the P2 finish. Moved to JD in P3, and it wasn't maybe the start you were hoping for going into that. I mean, you had a good qualifying position considering the ultra soft runners. So the start was a little bit cagey, dare I say, but you made up for it during the race. So just how was that race for you?
Yeah, that was probably like one of the most exciting races I've been a part of. I didn't get to do too much battling there. But yeah, in qualifying, I'm pretty happy because that's normally been my weakness, and I think the last three races now have come in the top three. If you took out the ultra runners, there, I'm pretty much the top three each time now. So I'm glad I'm starting to finally sort that out because I wasn't really confident coming into this. I think that was like the only. I think it was the second time I did a 15 in qualifying, so it was pretty good to do my PB when it mattered. I was expecting Simon and Surprise to just be rapid in qualifying, which they were. But I knew in race pace is always stronger for me. I knew I could definitely hang with them. And then at the start, I don't know, probably see from my highlights, but Joey, it looked like he just jumped start. He literally started like half a second before me. It was insane. He got such a good start, and I didn't get a great start. I just didn't want to get any damage going into turn one. And then from there, I got held up behind a couple of the ultra soft runners like Crab. I'm not sure who else it was as well. Got held up behind him. It's just really just being a little bit too cautious. So I lost a little bit of time. And then Surprise, he disconnected. Then I started to catch up to the lead group because they were battling quite a bit. So it was looking quite good. And yeah, he disconnected. And then once he rejoined, I came into the pits. And I don't know how far behind he was. I think it was like 3 or 4 seconds or something. I got held in the pits for an extra 5 seconds or something like that, which is pretty annoying at the end of the race, considering how much of a difference that was. So that cost me a lot of time. Then on the inters, it just took me a while to get into it, and then eventually caught Joe, and then couldn't really get past him. And Surprise was behind me, and then I think Surprise pitted, and then Martin told me that he pitted a bit too early. And then Snazzy even pitted, but then Martin told me that it was still pretty good on inters, and it was until sector 3 of my lap. And then I came in and probably pitted a little bit of a lap too late, and then at the end, the pace on the dry tyres was I was pretty shocked. It was pretty insane, but it just wasn't enough time really to catch up at the end. So overall, I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, you can be pretty happy. I mean, there was obviously we know the incident that happened with Simon between Stazeven and Simon. That must have given you a slight bit of confidence because there must have been a point for a lot of people. I mean, even Surprise, where there must have been a thought where actually I can win this race, and there must have been 5 or 6 guys at some point in that race they thought they could win it. So that must have been maybe your point where you thought actually I could win this race still.
Yeah, because usually I'm behind Simon and Surprise in the race, and at that point Simon was out and I was ahead of Surprise. I thought this is actually my chance now to actually win a race this season. But Martin told me that Snazzy and I think someone else was ahead of me as well. They didn't have any. Joe was at the time. They didn't have any penalties at that point, so I knew I had to just keep on pushing. And yeah, I thought it was my chance. But in the inters, I changed my wing from 711 to 411. I don't know if that was like too much. We just had a little bit too much understeer, so I just couldn't really go as quick as I'd like on there. But I think it's all credit to Snazzy, even as you said before. Hopefully he's like listening to this. But yeah, he did a pretty phenomenal drive, and yeah, he deserves all the respect that he gets, to be honest. Because yeah, winning a race like that in those kind of conditions, those variables is pretty impressive. So I think a lot of people need to give him respect, and well done to him. And well done to the Surprise as well, recovering from that disconnect. It was pretty unlucky for him. So they both did really super drives, and yeah, I think I just lost it myself by just going that extra lap, and I deserve P3 really today. So yeah, there's no complaints really.
Very honest podium there, Andy, and congratulations on the 3rd place, JD. I have tried to get Snazzy Evening in this party, but he's telling me he's got some. I'd really love to hear. And old viewers of mine or streams in the past I've done would know that technical difficulties is playing its faults here, and not least for himself. I wonder if we can try once more, one final chance for him potentially. But we described it as almost a near, mirror of the 2006 Grand Prix when Jenson Button won his first ever Formula 1 race, and we're seeing it today with Snazzy even winning his first ever race. There was a lot of doubters when Jenson Button won his first ever race in Formula 1. There's a lot of doubters when Snazzy even wins his one here today, but I'm not sure whether we're going to get him onto the podium, and that's quite a doubtful comment to end on, isn't it, really?
Well, I don't think we're going to get Snazzy in, but Joe has asked if he could join, so we'll fill the void with Joe, I suppose. I've asked him on Twitter, Snazzy, if we could get him in, but I don't think we can. But what a race! I'm glad. I know Surprise kind of said it was a bit of a boring one. I'm glad JD said it was exciting because it was absolutely mental from our point of view. But I'm sure Joe's got something to say. So feel free to ask him some questions.
Joe's always got something to say. We know what he's... Well, on Twitter he does anyway. We'll wait for him to connect just before we go saying stuff like that. Oh, good. This could be a phenomenal podium interview. You don't see this in real life. You don't see connection issues playing its faults. Joe's still connecting. He's giving me different gamer tags now, Snazzy. Oh, goodness me, what's going on here? This is... we want to get a bit of a filler here, really. We want to get someone to fill this void. I'm not too sure what... we need an advertisement break of all sorts.
Well, I'm glad there wasn't any in the race because we didn't need any in the race. So it was absolutely crazy. But I mean, wow. I mean, I have to ask this to JD and to Surprise. They both had moments, but JD in particular on his in lap through turn 11, the back end was gone. I saw it on board. Everyone watching saw it. Heart must have been in the mouth down at Red Bull. Wow, must have been a scary moment.
Yeah, I could feel my tyres going off towards the end of the lap, so I knew I was starting to lose time. Took a bit of a risk with that corner, and to be honest, once that happened, I actually thought that was it. I thought I'd probably destroy my car after that. So luckily, I just didn't stick with the throttle. I just completely went off the throttle, managed to save it again. So that was pretty spectacular. So yeah, just pretty difficult conditions there. So yeah, as I said, Snazzy, even for him to be, I don't think many people expected him to be as quick as he was in the race then, and particularly in changing conditions as well. I think he's got to give himself a pat on the back for that. That's a pretty impressive drive. So yeah, I really enjoyed that race, despite not much battling on him with Joe once his tyres went off. But yeah, I really loved that race. So I'm looking forward to watching that back.
Yeah, it was so unpredictable. And quickly, before I go to Joe, I want to ask Surprise. You were pushing for the victory near the end. I think it was on through turn 4, going into turn 5. Did you not have quite a big moment on one lap as well?
Oh, yeah. Well, I just had a problem with tyre temps the whole weekend, and even though they were like fresh, end of the race, low fuel, it's just I pushed too hard, and yeah, I think it just gets a little bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh well, on you go, James. Is Joe connected now? Has he finally got?
Yeah, Joe's connected. He's finally here. You'll be glad to hear. And P4 Joe today. It's not often you get a 4th place guy coming in for podium interviews. Well, there's a good reason for that, but P4, it was a race of probably variables that we've gone on about, but for you as most, probably ups and downs, if anything. I mean, there was so much. There was a few positives to take from that race, but there was certainly a lot of negatives to take from it as well. It's a case of that start. What actually went on at the start? Because we've heard from JD of perhaps, the start was maybe too good, if anything. So what happened at the start there? Was it just an amazing start?
Yeah, I think that was it really. I mean, I kind of backed off a little bit compared to I was a bit further behind the other guys, so I don't know if their tyres were a little bit colder than mine, which can actually have a bit of an effect. So at the time I thought that was it, but who knows, the game might have released me early. But I thought at the time it was just a really good start. But yeah, I got into the net lead once Gorsh and Dutchman, the Ultras guy had to go. But yeah, it all just went downhill from there. Me getting held in the pits, losing about 4 seconds, and then I was about 3 or 4 behind Snazzy, and I was just so slow on the inters, so slow. It was embarrassing how slow I was at the start. Simon got past me, and the same lap I was 1.5 seconds behind him. So I didn't really know what to do. I was stuck at it, and then I had to pit when I did, and Jeff told me the softs would have been alright from probably lap 25, I think it was, lap 26, something like that, whenever I pit. So I pit because my tyres suddenly went in the last sector, and then they came out the pits and they went straight on. There was no grip whatsoever, and that's what cost me, so I just cruised around for the last 5 laps.
Yeah, and we've asked the other two really about the achievement that Snazzy Evenings managed to pull off today, because not many people when he started in this league expected him to do as well as he did. Joe, I know, I haven't spoke to you that maybe, I mean, I've said it myself, I was a doubter. I didn't believe he had much in the form of maybe his pace in a race, but didn't know what to think really. So um, reflect on what exactly, what did he do right today? It's a big achievement. So does he, like I've said to the others, does he deserve more respect than perhaps where he's getting? More now than just a TT merchant. Does this race really set him from the cat amongst the pigeons, really?
I think so, because if I'm honest, when I was behind him after I got held in the pits, I was just waiting. Those first few laps, I was just waiting for Jeff to tell me that he got a penalty. If I'm honest, but it never really happened. So yeah, I think the first race is always like the first win you get feels is the best. So he'll just grow on from now, which is kind of a worry for me because I'm not really getting any better, and now I'm more competition on my hand.
Absolutely. And respect between all drivers, Andy. It's a great way to round off this amazing Hungarian Grand Prix.
Yeah, a great way to start the year. I think that's the way we have to look at it.
Yeah.
What a start to 2019 that is in the league racing. Sometimes as people go away over the winter break, they lose a bit of motivation, me included, in the commentary box. It took me an age to get my hot lap to Jack Gooden this week, but I got it there in the end. But you just struggle sometimes for motivation, people do. But that race certainly got my motivation back. I'm sure I got most of the drivers' motivation back. That was absolutely mental. From start to finish, chaos, drama, excitement. I mean, everyone in the top 5 or 6 probably felt they had a chance of winning it at one point. Limitless would have felt he could have won it. Surprise would have felt before his issues with the connection probably could have won it. Simon too, and then all of a sudden Snazzy comes up and takes the victory. And even Joe early on as well probably felt he could have won it when he broke away at the start. Mental, absolutely crazy. What a race. And we roll on to the next one, which is Spa, Belgium. And it's probably going to be even better because it's Spa. We love it. It's
Remember last year?
Classic. yeah, I know. It's going to be.
Oh, don't remind me of that.
So, it will be a classic, and I'm really, really looking forward to the rest of the season. So, what a drive, what a moment for Snazzy Evening, and I'm really impressed that everyone was able to agree and say, yeah, that was impressive from Snazzy Evening today. There's going to be one question mark still remaining over Snazzy. Don't get me wrong, no penalties today. Great pace in the race as well, but wheel to wheel. There was contact again today. Will the stewards look at it? We'll wait and see. We don't want to overshadow his great win, but that's just one thing that people might still have a question mark over, and that'll be one to watch over the remainder of the weekend, see if there's anything about the stewards talking about that, and then going on beyond that. But a great race today. What a start to 2019, and I'm sure we'll all be looking forward to the next one in Belgium. And of course, if you want to watch the Belgian Grand Prix, be sure to join us at the same time again next week, 7:30 on a Friday night. And if you watch for the first time today, I'm pretty sure you'll want to tune in again next week. That's all from me. That's all from James. Well done to the podium finishers, particularly to Snazzy Evening. Good night, folks.